The luxury airport lounge, bathed in soft lighting and exuding an air of exclusivity, was alive with the quiet buzz of travelers sipping their drinks, scrolling through their phones, and awaiting their boarding calls. Among the crowd of affluent passengers and business elites sat Big Shaq, the well-loved British rapper and comedian whose humor and catchy tracks had won him fans worldwide. Dressed in his signature casual style, a hoodie paired with joggers, Shaq was anything but pretentious. He didn't seek attention, but it was hard not to notice him. His tall frame, infectious laugh, and magnetic presence naturally drew eyes. Shaq had just wrapped up a whirlwind tour, performing in sold-out venues across the country. The success of his latest album had catapulted him further into the limelight. But despite his fame, Shaq stayed grounded. His seat in the VIP section was a well-earned treat, a chance to decompress before heading home to London. He sipped a cold drink and scrolled through photos from the tour on his phone, reliving the energy of the crowds and the warmth of his fans. Across the lounge, however, a different energy was brewing. A sharply dressed businessman, his hair immaculately styled and his briefcase polished to perfection, stood at the check-in counter. His booming voice carried through the lounge, turning heads as he gestured wildly at the staff. "This is outrageous," he barked, his tone dripping with entitlement. "I've been a platinum-tier customer for years. How can you not have a proper VIP seat available for me?" The airline staff behind the counter exchanged nervous glances, trying to calm the man down. "Sir," one of them began hesitantly, "we understand your frustration, but the VIP section is fully booked. We'll be happy to provide you with a first-class seat." "First class?" the man scoffed, cutting her off. "Do I look like someone who settles for first class? I deserve the best. Move someone else out of the VIP section if you have to." The staff hesitated, clearly uncomfortable with the demand. But the businessman wasn't finished. He leaned in, lowering his voice to a conspiratorial tone. "Why don't you start with him?" He pointed subtly in Shaq's direction. The staff members glanced toward Big Shaq, their faces showing visible discomfort. The businessman continued, "Look at him. Probably doesn't even belong in VIP. Trust me, he'll be fine moving somewhere else. Go handle it." Reluctantly, one of the staff members approached Shaq, whose relaxed demeanor hadn't wavered despite noticing the commotion. "Excuse me, sir," the staff member began, their tone hesitant. "I'm terribly sorry to bother you, but we have a small issue. A passenger has requested a seat in the VIP section, and—" Shaq raised an eyebrow, sensing where this was going. "And you want me to give up mine?" he finished for them, his voice calm but firm. The staff member winced. "Yes, sir, we'd be happy to reassign you to another comfortable seat." Shaq shook his head. "I paid for this seat just like everyone else here. Why should I move?" The businessman, overhearing the exchange, strode over with an air of authority. "Listen, mate," he said, his tone condescending. "You don't need to make this difficult. Just move to another seat and let's be done with it. VIP is for people who—" He paused, looking Shaq up and down. "Well, you know." Shaq leaned back in his seat, his eyes narrowing. "No," he said simply. The businessman's face reddened with frustration. "Do you know who I am?" he demanded. Shaq smirked, unbothered. "No, mate, but I'm guessing you're someone who doesn't take no for an answer." By now, the entire lounge was watching. Some passengers whispered among themselves, shocked by the businessman's audacity. Others silently rooted for Shaq, admiring his composure in the face of blatant disrespect. The businessman crossed his arms. "Fine," he said with a sneer. "Let's see how your attitude changes when I have a word with the airline's management." He turned to the staff. "Do something about this, or I'll make sure you regret it." Shaq, unfazed, pulled out his phone. "All right," he said. "If we're calling people, let me make a call too." He stepped aside and dialed a number, speaking quietly into his phone. Meanwhile, the businessman smirked, clearly convinced that he had won. Minutes later, a group of airline executives entered the lounge. Their presence immediately shifted the atmosphere, and they headed straight for the businessman. "Sir," one of them said firmly, "we've been informed of your behavior. Your actions are completely unacceptable, and we have a zero-tolerance policy for harassment or discrimination. You will not be flying with us today." The businessman's smug expression faltered. "What are you talking about? I'm a loyal customer. I have a platinum membership." "Not anymore," the executive replied. "Your membership has been revoked, effective immediately. Security will escort you out." The businessman sputtered, his face turning red. "This is ridiculous. You can't do this." The executive turned to the staff members who had initially approached Shaq. "As for you," they said sharply, "your conduct in this situation has been noted. Encouraging or enabling discrimination is grounds for termination. You're both relieved of your duties." The staff members looked stunned, their faces pale. As the businessman was escorted out of the lounge, passengers erupted into applause. Shaq returned to his seat, nodding to those who clapped for him. He appreciated the support, but didn't dwell on the incident. He knew this wasn't just about him, it was about standing up to prejudice and entitlement. Later, as Shaq boarded his flight, a young man stopped him in the aisle. "Hey," the man said shyly, "I just wanted to say thank you for what you did back there. It was inspiring to see someone stand their ground like that." Shaq smiled warmly. "Thanks, mate. Sometimes you've just got to remind people that respect isn't optional." And with that, Big Shaq settled into his VIP seat, ready to leave the drama behind and focus on the things that truly mattered. Share your thought in the comments below, and if you enjoyed the video, please consider subscribing to my channel. I pour my heart into crafting stories like this for you, and your support is the one helps me keep going. I appreciate having you on this journey,